Well, good morning and welcome back to my kitchen here in Cave Creek, Arizona. My name is Shay. I'm a mom of 4 kids, and I want to share with you today my 3 cheese stuffed mushrooms that are absolutely to die for. Happy Mother's Day to everybody, and my mom and all those wonderful women out there that have been in my life throughout the years. I hope you have a wonderful day. So let's jump right in. You want to have 24 kind of medium to large size mushrooms. You just buy them in your bulk section. And you want them big enough that you can really stuff them good. 24 fit perfectly in your 9 by 13 pan. And I've already taken 6 tablespoons of butter that I just sliced off and put little pats here down in the bottom. Come on, get in here and see this. I got the pats of butter just down in there because that's going to make it all nice and bubbly and juicy to cook up these mushrooms. And I've already brushed my mushrooms with a damp towel if that's all you have, or if you have a mushroom brush. And then you're going to want to pluck out these little stems. See how easy that was? You just pluck, and they just pop out perfectly, and then you just line them up in your pan, and they fit nice and snug. And then you're going to take your stems, and you're going to dice them up really good, which I've already done here. And then I have my ½ cup of finely diced leeks. I have a couple tablespoons of shallots, which is in that onion garlic category, so you might want to use those fancy goggles like Miss Paula Dean showed us earlier in the week, because they do make you tear up. I'm actually starting to tear up again just being near them. And then I have a tablespoon of minced garlic in here as well. And then you have your cup of your shredded mozzarella cheese, which is one of the 3 cheeses, and you're just going to stuff a tiny little bit down here into the bottom of each mushroom. Give it a good, nice little good start. And as you can see, when I'm cutting with my cutting board, I have a dish towel or something like that that I always put right under my cutting board. It keeps it from sliding all over the place. One of those little things that I've always done because I hated how my cutting board slid around all over the place. And you just put a little bit, doesn't have to be precise, you just want to get it nice tucked in there. Some fall down, that's okay, because then you get some nice cheese all over that. Look at that, 1 cup is just perfect for those 24 mushrooms. Put that aside there. And I have my oven preheated to 375. And earlier all I did was take the pound of the sausage and I cooked it up in my pan on a medium-high heat just like you would ground beef, and then I set it aside to drain because I don't want a lot of that grease and stuff going into my mushrooms. And then it's all cooked, and so once I have my mushrooms sauteed and all this other yumminess married up in the pan, I can just add it back in, and I really don't have to mess with it much because it's already cooked. So I'm reheating my same pan. I didn't even wash it from earlier. Reheating my pan with 4 tablespoons of butter and my 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I'm just adding in these diced up stems, because why have those go to waste just because we took them out of there. And add those back into your pan. It seems like a lot of liquid with that butter and the oil, but mushrooms really soak up and absorb that moisture. And I add in, of course, all my leeks and my garlic and my shallots. And I'm just going to let this get nice and happy in the pan, saute it up. It's going to only take about 3 to 5 minutes. Add in your salt and pepper, about a teaspoon of each, just to give it some nice flavor there. Add as much or as little as you want. And you're just going to let that saute up there. I'll see you back in a few minutes when we're ready to add in our sausage. Okay, see how the mushrooms are nice and soft now? It's been about 4 minutes. I've got my shallots are nice and translucent, and the leeks are all nice and soft as well. It still has a little bit of liquid, but we're not done yet, so don't go panicking. So I'm adding in my teaspoon of salt, fresh cracked pepper, about a teaspoon of that, or whatever kind of pepper you have around. And then we're adding back in our sausage. Oh, it smells so good in here already. And then when you add that cream cheese to it, ooh, you'll just think you died and went to heaven. So we've got this added back in here, and I'm just going to go down to a medium heat. Now, because this is a stuffed mushroom, you're kind of making this mixture like a stuffing. So a key here is 2 tablespoons of whipping cream and 2 eggs that you're going to add in here and mix up really quick. Doesn't need too long because it doesn't need to really cook up those eggs or anything because it's going to go in the oven later. But you're just making this really nice and moist to add in your cup of French bread crumbs a little note here when I first started making stuffed mushrooms, and the recipe that I had found or I was following at that time called for 2 egg yolks. And one time I about freaked out because I forgot to separate my yolks and my whites. And then I'm always trying to think of, okay, I gotta remember to make an egg white omelet later with my leftovers. And I accidentally forgot to do that. And I didn't realize it till I was stuffing my mushrooms. I thought, oh, it's all ruined. But it actually turned out really good. So I thought, well, why waste the time of separating? So I used the whole egg perfectly fine. And then my cup of breadcrumbs, nice big heaping scoopful of French breadcrumbs. You know how you have that bakery selection, you get a nice inexpensive loaf of French bread that's nice and fresh during the day? I like to grab one of those. It's about half the loaf, so I can use the other half for my other meal that night or something. And I just take out the insides, put it in my blender, and that works really good just to get a nice breadcrumb consistency. And I don't have to bother with a store-bought, plus it's a lot fluffier. If you have a food processor, it probably would do the same thing, or one of those magic bullets, but my blender works really good just to create that nice little breadcrumb. So then I can go ahead and turn off the heat, and I'm going to come on over here, and we have our 8 ounces of Philadelphia cream cheese, which this is 2, so I'm only going to use half of this. I just wanted to make you drool over all this nice cream cheese here. And I did cube it up, and it's room temperature. That way it can incorporate a little bit better, but you don't really have to mix it up too much, because if you get a big glob of that cream cheese in your mushroom, then you win the prize. So just take it up and break it up and incorporate it. This kind of thing isn't working too well. Like a potato masher does good to get. That way you get it incorporated a little bit, but you don't chunk it up too much. Oh, that looks beautiful. Just like that. And then, I've always done it like this, but I found that my mom has this handy little tool. I use 2 spoons or my fingers and stuff my mushrooms. But my mom has this handy little scooper, kind of like an ice cream scooper, but it's smaller. So I borrowed it from her to make these. And look at that. You just get this nice little pile in there. But if all you have is a couple spoons, like I said, that's what I've been doing all my life. Just get a nice big heaping spoonful and get in your fingers so that way you can lick it afterwards. Okay, now we have all of our mushrooms stuffed in here. And you only need about a half a cup of Parmesan cheese that you're just going to sprinkle on top of each one of them. You can press it in a little bit so it sticks. So here's your 3rd cheese with the Parmesan cheese. So you just kind of put it on the bottom, put cream cheese in the middle, put some Parmesan on top. You just kind of sandwich this cheese everywhere. So there we have it sprinkled all over there. We're going to cover it with foil and bake it in our oven at 375 till those mushrooms shrink down and they're all nice and bubbly and that cheese is all melty and gooey in there. See you back here when we plate. Okay, so our mushrooms are out of the oven. They were cooking at 375 for about 25 minutes. 20-25 minutes is pretty good depending on how your oven cooks. With about 5 to 10 minutes left on the cooking time, I took the foil off, and that lets that top cheese just get all nice and melted and a little browned. And look how nice these mushrooms look. Now you can either plate them and serve them on a nice platter. Mine have never made it to a platter. They are usually inhaled before they have a chance to cool off. But see how easy they just come on out and how pretty they look. You can just put it on a platter. Or when I do these up ahead of time, I have this handy dandy case that got zipped up already that has a lid and it keeps everything nice and warm. So I can cook that up, throw it in here just as we're leaving for our party, and we're all set to go. And that way I don't have to cook anything at the party. I just have it all ready to go. So let's have a little taste. Look at all these nice juices and creamy cream cheese in there. I've got a little bit of the stuffing and a little bit of the mushroom. That is just absolutely amazing. Just melts in your mouth. So hurry up, get out of here and go make yourself some 3 cheese stuffed mushrooms.